Dear listeners, this is Form Camda. I hope you'll have a wonderful relaxing time listening to the novels I wrote myself. Today, we'll be diving into a novel called My Lord, Be More Serious. Chapter 2, 4 Kisses, I Save You.
How did I time travel? The girl in the blue dress was still sitting on the stomach of the man in white, pondering for a long time. I remember now. After a while, she stepped out of the bathroom wearing the pink bunny pajamas from earlier. She quickly jumped onto the bed, hugging a stuffed dolphin tightly, her eyes drifting to the moonlight mysterious pearl on the table, a look of regret evident in her gaze. She decided to stop thinking about it and turned to pick up her phone, blowing a kiss to unlock it. The phone screen lit up, displaying an image of a young monk with bright red phoenix eyes, incredibly charming. Swiping up revealed another man, elegantly dressed in green, with an otherworldly demeanor, handsome beyond compare. Today is the full moon, so the moon must be very round and bright. I really want to see it. Lost in thought while looking at her phone, she shifted her gaze to the black curtains, murmuring to herself. As soon as she finished speaking, she clapped her hands twice. The curtains suddenly parted on their own, and the glass door creaked open as well. Her entire house was equipped with a sound-activated system, all because of her deeply ingrained laziness. The door opened, revealing a tranquil night sky filled with twinkling stars. The moon was round and bright, shining like a crystal ball. Beautiful, ah! She was excited, lost in admiration, softly praising the beauty of the human world. Suddenly, she felt that this moonlight seemed somewhat familiar, as if she had seen it somewhere before. She quickly slapped her head, scolding herself. Quoc, are you crazy? There is only one moon. Today it's the same as tomorrow. How could it not feel familiar? She stopped her wandering thoughts, clapped her hands 3 times, and turned off the lights to go to sleep. But she couldn't fall asleep, tossing and turning endlessly. Suddenly, the moonlight outside the window shone a beam into her bedroom. Quoc quickly looked up. Then, unexpectedly, the moonlight mysterious pearl under the table shone brightly, illuminating her entire room more than ever that night. Quoc was dazzled, unable to see anything. She had to quickly close her eyes and cover them with her hands to avoid hurting them. Quoc suddenly felt something strange about her body. She was being pulled into somewhere. And at that moment, it seemed like she was falling. Quoc opened her eyes a little to check the situation. All she could see was a refreshing sky blue, so beautiful. The cool breeze was blowing under her back, making her clothes flutter. Wait a minute. It was still dark just now. How could it be so bright so quickly? Quoc came to her senses, almost losing her rationality to the blue color. After all, she was a true blue addict. Moreover, I feel like I'm falling from a very, very high place. Quoc fearfully shifted her gaze to the corner of her eye, glancing down below. Oh my God! What the hell is that? I really am falling. So high, if I fall, I'll be smashed to pieces. Quoc whimpered, panicking as she realized she was precariously suspended in the vast, open air. She continued to fall freely towards the ground. The distance could be described as thousands of jong. She screamed loudly, shaking the heavens and the earth. It's just a dream, just a dream. Wah wah wah. Oh heavens! What have I done to deserve this? Why are you treating me like this? Terrified, she kept glancing down at the void below while frantically flailing her arms. Her hands kept slapping her cheeks in an attempt to wake herself from this terrifying nightmare. Her pink lips trembled as she sobbed, her cries echoing loudly. But this was not a dream. What kind of game is this? Is there any worse trick? Just spill it all out. Heroic figure, please show yourself and save me. Help. Help, ah. Quoc Quoc was both sad and angry, continuing to frown, close her eyes, and scream in despair. Falling was just a matter of Earth's gravity, so she continued to fall. Her fate was indeed very tragic. Quoc Quoc sighed sadly, bowing her head, ending that horrifying memory. Miss, can you stand up now? The man in white saw Quoc Quoc still sitting on his stomach, and he gently reminded her. Quoc Quoc suddenly came to her senses, returning to reality. She immediately smelled the scent of blood and poison on the white-clad youth. Worried, she looked him over and asked incessantly. White-clad immortal, your eyes are poisoned. Are you injured too? What happened? Oh, and I have something I want to ask. Before Quoc Quoc could finish her sentence, a man in black suddenly lunged at them with a raised knife, cutting her off. If there's anything to say, wait until you get to the King of Hell, and say it all at once.
At first, when she had not yet fallen, the group of black-clad men thought a great master had appeared. It turned out to be just a weak little girl, unarmed and infatuated with handsome men. It seemed there was nothing to worry about. Killing one more person wouldn't matter. He would step in to do a good deed, helping the two of them become a pair of ill-fated lovers in the underworld. Wait. At this moment, Quoc Quoc finally tilted her head to look over. Panic-stricken, she raised her hand to block in front of her, shouting. What's the hell? What is this? I thought falling onto a handsome man would be a good thing. Who knew? What the hell is this? Eyes? I just crossed over. Am I really going to die right here? Of all places to cross into, I land right in the middle of a chaotic battle. Truly a stepchild. Quoc Quoc lamented in despair, her heart unable to stop screaming, crying and complaining about her fate. Her luck was truly miserable, truly unfortunate. Suddenly, Quoc Quoc's inner spirit surged, raising the flag of rebellion. Her spirit was uplifted, strong and unyielding. No. I can't die. I just crossed over here. There are still many places I haven't visited. Many beautiful sights I haven't seen. Many delicious foods I haven't tasted. I haven't met many handsome men yet. I haven't yet shaken the world. How can I easily accept death like this? Quoc Quoc quickly began to analyze her current situation in detail. Based on this chaotic situation, I need to clarify the issues. According to my judgment, a lot of people chasing one person, taking advantage of numbers to bully the weak in broad daylight, is unacceptable. Moreover, they are wearing masks, which means they are a group of scoundrels, specializing in doing evil deeds. And they dare to harm a handsome man? That violates my unwritten rules. It cannot be forgiven. Quoc Quoc's delicate brows furrowed, rising and falling, sometimes knitting together, as she considered the black-clad men in front of her. She turned to look at the young man in white beneath her, her gaze unable to hide her infatuation. Moreover, this white-clad fairy is so beautiful, gentle, refined, and upright. She must be a good person. I should step in to help in this unjust situation. Quoc Quoc cunningly revealed her intentions, lightly curling her lips into a charming smile, but I can't do it for free. Quoc Quoc immediately put on a delicate and pitiful demeanor. With tear-filled eyes, she looked up at the 5 black-clad men, standing up while sobbing, saying, "Big brothers, can we talk this over? You're scaring me." Seeing Quoc Quoc's fragile appearance, the 5 black-clad men felt a bit soft-hearted, their hands holding swords and knives went limp, losing the strength to strike. "The one you are targeting is me. It has nothing to do with this young lady. Don't harm her." The young man in white struggled to stand up, though he couldn't see clearly. He still tried to step forward, reaching out twice to grab her wrist before finally holding her wrist, pulling her behind him, and speaking sternly. Truly a man of honor. Quoc Quoc secretly felt pleased, snapping her fingers to praise the white-clad man who was trying hard to shield her. The girl can go. The man must leave his head behind. The leader of the black-clad men pointed his sword at them, responding defiantly. Then, Quoc Quoc stepped up, standing right next to the young man in white, dropping her weak demeanor. In the blink of an eye, she turned the tables, smiling cheerfully. That's not good. If both of you want to die, then we will fulfill your wish. With that, the black-clad man swung his sword down. Go meet King Yama. Huh? What's happening? At this moment, the sword was about to pierce the space between the chest of the young man in white and Quoc Quoc. But it couldn't move any further. Quoc Quoc was still lightly touching the young man's abdomen with one hand, while the other hand was pressing her fingers against the wrist of the black-clad man. Earlier, when the black-clad man lunged to strike down, Quoc Quoc reacted quickly, pushing the young man in white away to avoid the incoming sword. With her other hand, she seized the opportunity to press the acupoint on the wrist holding the sword, rendering his arm immobile, unable to move. The black-clad man was utterly astonished, his eyes wide open, staring in disbelief at his stubborn arm that refused to obey, unable to move even a bit. He suddenly felt as if a sensation of stiffness began to spread from this arm throughout his body, causing him to gradually freeze, unable to act. The other 4 black-clad men surrounding them were also horrified as they witnessed the scene unfolding before their eyes.
The young man in white, though his eyes could not see clearly, could still vaguely perceive what had happened earlier. His heart was also deeply shaken, not expecting that a petite, fragile girl, unarmed, could easily subdue a large, fierce man who was wielding a sword wildly. He had clearly underestimated her. Here is the translation of the passage you provided. White-clothed fairy, let's talk about this. KK ran to his side, placing her arm on his shoulder, and said happily. The young man in white tilted his head slightly, raising his eyebrows as if he wanted to hear what KK wanted to discuss with him. I'll save you from here. Then I'll heal your eyes that have been poisoned. The rescue fee is 2 kisses, the healing fee is 2 kisses. What do you think? As she spoke, KK raised 2 fingers on one hand, then 2 more on the other, wagging them like a rabbit's ears. The sword-like eyebrows quickly lowered. The white-clothed man softly scolded, but his voice was so sweet, soft, and gentle it was the first time KK had heard such a voice. You're a flirt. Taking advantage of the situation, the white-clothed man quickly moved away from KK. As a result, she lost her support and almost fell to the ground. Damn it! What have you done to our leader? Don't dream of escaping from here. Another black-clothed man, filled with anger, raised his sword and charged towards the white-clothed youth and KK. KK quickly grabbed the white-clothed youth's hand, pulled him around, and stood behind her, protecting him. She used her foot to lift a small pebble from under the sole of her shoe to the tip of her shoe. She drew back her foot, aimed at the charging black-clothed man, and kicked the pebble into his left chest. As she acted, KK lightly smiled, a stunning smile, and spoke. Ask again, do you agree? The black-clothed man, struck by her move, instantly turned to stone, stiffening like a statue. One leg stood firm, the other was bent back, one hand raised its sword, and the other was stretched out behind him. He was so terrified that his teeth chattered and he couldn't speak. The remaining 3 black-clothed men were terrified, they glanced at each other, their hands holding the hilts of their swords and daggers, trembling uncontrollably, not daring to strike. 2,000 taels of gold, will that do? The white-clothed youth, standing behind KK with his back to her, tilted his face slightly towards her, suggesting softly. 2,000 taels of gold? A house in the city, huh? KK grinned, shook her head and waved her hands, saying casually. 2,000 taels of gold is no small sum. But I prefer to be kissed by a handsome man. No exchange. 1 kiss. The white-clothed man raised 1 finger, resolutely. I saved you, you should repay me with your body. But I only asked for 4 kisses as a healing fee. Are you being stingy with me? KK turned around, expressing a slight sadness. You! The white-clothed youth was speechless after hearing this. The price can only go up, not change or decrease. If you keep arguing, I'll raise the price later, you know. KK continued to complain. She snapped her fingers, chattering as she pointed and illustrated. Deal. 4 kisses, I save you. Do you agree? The white-clothed man was cornered by KK, with no way out. He was now powerless, his eyes couldn't see clearly. And this blue-clothed girl, although a flirt, also had some skills. His life seemed to depend on her this time. The most important thing now was to survive. Then, he could talk about other things. All right. The white-clothed youth nodded in agreement. High five to confirm. KK was secretly delighted. She winked mischievously, saying, "Deal." The white-clothed youth and KK turned and high-fived each other. They confirmed the agreed-upon price right in front of the 5 black-clothed men. The 2 black-clothed men on either side glanced at each other and nodded, intending to make a move. However, as soon as the white-clothed man agreed to give 4 kisses, KK quickly took action. KK bent down, picking up some pebbles with one hand. With the other hand, she pulled the white-clothed youth over her back, standing on the other side to avoid the blades aimed at him. Meanwhile, she raised her head, flicked a pebble at the black-clothed man in front of her. He was hit by the pebble at his acupoint, and instantly froze like he was rooted to the ground. "Oh, my dear brother, I'm so sorry, I slip." KK mischievously pretended to be extremely remorseful, clasped her hands and bowed. The black-clothed man who was about to attack the white-clothed youth was diverted by her actions. As a result, his sword swung through empty air.
The remaining 2 black-clothed men aimed at KK and attacked her together. KK dodged the sharp blades. 2 fingers then pressed against the shoulder of one black-clothed man. KK flicked another pebble, hitting the acupoint of the last black-clothed man. After dealing with them, she looked over at the 5 black-clothed men, all motionless, unable to do anything. She quickly pretended to scratch her head in embarrassment and apologize. But her voice couldn't hide her joy. "I slipped. I just slipped. Don't blame me. I'm so sorry. Because you guys wouldn't stop chasing us, I could only think of this way. Please forgive me." KK bowed her head and clasped her hands, speaking softly. It sounded like she was also very distressed about treating them this way. After a while, looking back at the 5 black-clothed men, she saw that they were tied together in a mess. Their hands were tied behind their backs with their own belts. Specifically, their 5 pairs of legs were also tied backwards, and the rope used to tie them was their own pants. Because she had hit their acupoints, they couldn't move, so she could do whatever she wanted to them. KK took off each of their belts, tying their hands in front of them. Then, she pulled down their pants one by one to tie their legs up. She still had a little conscience, leaving some fabric to cover their sensitive areas. Needless to say, those 5 black-clothed men were mortified. They never thought they would be treated like this by a woman. She struggled to roll the logs close together, forcing them to kneel back-to-back in a small circle. Then, she tied their legs together and connected their hands together. After tying up the 5 black-clothed men, KK brushed her hands clean and turned back to look for her white-clothed fairy. "White-clothed fairy, how are you?" "White-clothed fairy." The white-clothed youth had fainted at some point, lying on the ground. KK panicked, quickly ran over, shook him and called him.